So I welcome you all today on the MOOCs USMLE session. Before we begin, just a quick, introduction. So my name is Chirag. I am the COO online coaching at MOOCs Overseas EduCon. We have been helping extensively guiding students achieve their dreams of a US residency and fellowship program. I've been dealing with students for last about 10 to 15 years now and have a huge alumni base of my own students from medical colleges across India who have settled in the US. All right. So I am going to, specifically talk about a lot of aspects of, the license exams, US global license exams, everything. All right. The session is very simple. You keep on asking me questions and I will start answering them one by one. All right. So as you ask me a question, I will try answering them with specific information. So as long as there are questions, we will continue. It's called as Ask the Expert. So the agenda is very simple. We as physicians, our job is to have a complete clarity of your career pathway. All right, great. So now I will take questions one by one. Great. So I already have a question from Dr. Meghna. What about PLAB? So many scholarships. Meghna, very good question, Meghna. We'll be discussing much in detail about all the global exams. I know when it comes to global license exams, there are certain companies, especially in South India, who are trying to, kind of seduce or maybe, give misinformation to lot of students about the fact that the PLAB exam is easy and why you should consider PLAB, but giving a zero knowledge what will happen to your career after PLAB 1. Absolutely no idea. All right. So good you asked this question, Dr. Meghna. We will much in detail, during this session, much in detail, we will talk about all the global license examinations, and then you will have a complete clarity of how maybe the person who has suggested you PLAB, how ill-informed he or she is, and what information did you get. So I'll try to prove it by a lot of official websites that gives you a complete clarity. Thank you for that question, Dr. Meghna. So before I start, we are almost 120 students right now. There is a question panel where you can ask questions, all right, and quickly fill up this poll. Well, I'll be able to answer all of your questions. Great. I have a question also from Nachiket. Definitely, I'll be answering that question as well. So quickly request you to fill up this poll so that we can move forward and discuss much in detail. Great. So we still have few people still to awaken and be ready to fill up the questions. All right. And also type in the poll. I actually can see how many of you have submitted the poll and how many are still contemplating to remember which year of med school you are in, because it's a huge and a long time since the lockdown that you attended your med school, so you don't remember which med school year you were in, so I understand. No problem. Great. Perfect. Thank you everyone for your quick response. So as you can see, it's a mixed batch of students. We have 28% who are first and second year, 44% third and fourth year, balance in internship and graduate. So I welcome you all, and the reason to ask this is to give you a perspective, what is an ideal scenario, when is the time when you plan your career, and how usually people do, and when they are late, again in hurry or in the quest of getting things easy, taking the easy road, how they are gullible to options recommended by certain people. So I will be discussing that much in detail, right? So before I talk about the global license examinations, right, equally let me tell you one very important perspective. Okay? Indian student who is doing a med school in India, please understand, if you are choosing MBBS, you need to be very clear about the fact that there is something called as license exams. This is very much important to do anything in any third country. Okay, it is not like you are pursuing an engineering or a management degree where you don't, you just, there is no entry barrier. But when it comes to medicine, unless you cross this wall of license exams, you do not get entry to any country. India will now realize that once the next exam is official. Okay, so far in India, if you got admission into a government or a private med school, no problem. As long as you pass the exams, you become an MBBS physician. You can start working in the job market. But now the government have announced a new education policy which states that even in India, unless you clear this license exam, you cannot enter the job market. So what are these license exam? I will be talking much in detail. But before I do that, again, one important perspective I want to give everyone. You need to understand, when you apply for any country to do PG, and if you plan to settle in any other country, this is not one and the same thing. In India, we have an assumption that if I do a PG, I have to settle in that country only. Doesn't happen like that. To settle, you have to think about a separate list of countries, and to do PG, there are different lists. It is not necessary that in every country you do PG, you can settle, or every country in which you want to settle, you can do PG. Please, as a medical student from India, unfortunately, due to lack of experienced counselors, this clarity is missing among the students. That to settle, when I say settle, it also includes very much the immigration process. Okay, what I mean is to immigrate to that particular country. Okay, these are two different things. So we will be talking much in detail about this. Okay, please understand this, and then we can specifically answer all the questions. Great. So you guys can keep on typing your questions and I'll be happy to answer. So now let's understand what are the country options which typically an Indian student has in a mind. First, of course, everybody wants to consider the US option, which is for which you have to appear for a USMLE examination. Second, everybody has heard about PLAB. Of course, in India, we will have the next exam. In Canada, it is the Medical Council of Canada Equivalency Examination. Australia has the AMC, Australian Medical Council exam. New Zealand has New Zealand Registration Examination. Germany has FSP, that is Fachsprüfung, and KSP, that is Kenntnisprüfung. And Gulf countries, again, they have their MOH, DHA, and Health Authority of Abu Dhabi examinations. All right. So as you can see, there are multiple countries and multiple examinations. Okay, and every country has a different perspective. Let's understand this very clearly. When you talk about difficulty level of exam, this is also very important. Okay, USMLE is a difficult exam by every means, because USMLE does not expect you to just memorize things. They expect you to have a sound knowledge of patient diagnosing skills. Lab is medium. Some agents say it is easy. I will give it to them. Yes, it is easy. Okay. Next is going to be difficult. Difficult again in the sense that now they are also following the patient-centered approach, which is there in the American healthcare system. Canadian exam, medium. AMC, medium. New Zealand, medium. German exams are easy, provided you know the German language. Gulf exams are easy. Now, you need to understand this. Typically, what does agents, especially there are a lot of agents, unfortunately, in South India. I always call them agents. They might call them coaching providers, but they are trying to, sell something off. When you try to sell something, you are no longer a, mentor or a career planner. You are just a plain agent. What they do is they tell, you know what, PLAB is the most easy exam because they show you two fears. India, oh, very difficult. US, extremely difficult. So the easy way out is pitch you for PLAB. Understand this very importantly. Whenever you get a call or you are being referred by somebody to think about PLAB, ask them very simple question. In the last 5 years, tell them to give the names of only 10 students who are studying in a medical school in India and now are working successfully in UK. If they are able to do that, just go ahead with the plan. If not, then you know what is the reality. Tell them I don't want the names of Indian or Pakistani origin UK citizens. I want somebody who did medical college in India and now is settled. Just tell them to give a data of 5 years and only 10 students. I'm not like asking like America. I'm not asking about 1,000 students. No, only 10 students. You will know all they do is sell you PLAB course. That's it. Once their course is done, they have made their money. Your career is destroyed. You could have spent your time, energy on a more productive country. You didn't do that. Why am I so not too convinced about the UK system? I will show you with the data. Let's talk about one by one things. Quota system. In America, there is no quota system whatsoever in the residency applications. UK, in fact, UK or the PLAB taught us all. We were all British colonies, so India learned from UK, Canada learned from UK, Australia learned from UK, and so did New Zealand. Germany, of course, there is no quota system. Gulf countries, no quota, no problem. Net number of PG, the highest number of PG seats are in US, 34,000. UK clinical seats close to about 15,000. Again, don't get fooled. A lot of people, agents recommend you a master's program, but those are masters by research. They are not clinical program. So don't get fooled. India around 30,000 seats, out of which 20,000 in medicine, 10,000 around in surgery. Canada is about 2,000 seats. Australia is 5,000 seats to do PG. New Zealand 500, Germany 5,000, and Gulf countries around 500 across the Emirates. Visa issues. Now, when I say visa, these are work visas. Okay, so work visas are the lowest in US because there is a huge demand. You might have heard about issues with regards to H1B, J1, but those issues are for non-clinical field, IT, engineering, those fields. If you are a medicine professional, there is a huge demand in America. UK, big issues. I know of students gave their PLAB 1, the PLAB 2 visa was rejected. I know of students PLAB 1, PLAB 2 clear, when they got the house surgeon seat, their visa was rejected. Absolutely no coordination between NHS and the UK BA. Big issue. India, of course, there's no question. US, Canada, low issues. Germany, low, and chances to settle. As I told you, to do PG is a separate thing, and to settle after PG is an altogether separate thing. Do not mix the two things. Yes, if I do a PG from America, I can settle in America. I cannot settle after I've done a PG from India or any other countries. Okay, if you want to settle in US, you have to do PG from US only. If you want to settle, do PG, nothing in UK, nothing is possible. Okay, not even settle, not even doing PG. But this real picture, nobody is going to show you. I'm glad, Dr. Meghna, you asked this question. And this was the first question of the session today. In India, when I say settling, I actually mean typically bypassing the quota and the high fees of private medical colleges only at the age of 32 and Indian physician settles. Canada, after PG from US or India. Why I say and why I'm not discounting the Indian degree, because Indian PG is equally valued. So if you have a PG from India or from America, you have to appear the MECI exam, and under the specialist pathway, you can settle in Canada. You have to appear the Australian Medical Council exam, you can settle in Australia. You have to appear the New Zealand exam and you can settle in New Zealand. This is the strength of the Indian PG degree. Okay, Indian or American PG degree. Same is with Middle East. Okay, after having PG from India or US, you can settle. But to do PG, they don't have seats. So typically, what happens is, if I am a student from India, my first option is to do PG in India. Second, consider America as the option. If both the options don't work up, this is my plan C, Germany. Why do I say that? Because Germany is a one-way route. The German degrees are not recognized in India, so you cannot practice in India. But if your German language proficiency is good, you can settle after doing a PG from Germany in Germany, Austria, or Switzerland, any of these countries. Okay, but only thing is it's a one-way route. So usually students who are graduated need attempt 3 times. US family tried once, nothing work out. Wants an easy career but a one-way career, considers Germany as an option. Only challenge, as I am repeating, is your how soon you can cope up to learning the German language. That's the only hurdle which we have seen in our German students' success. Okay, great. So now we talked about a lot of advantages, and of course I mentioned the disadvantage for Germany, but let's talk about other countries as well. US, it's a very long process. Nobody has patience. It requires hard work. Everybody wants easy route. That's why they have been fooled to consider UK PLAB. And it requires a never give up attitude. This is very, very important, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it requires extreme patience, which is, sometimes in the, in the current world, it doesn't happen, which is why people do not having these qualities usually decide to buy a PG seat in a private medical college. That's the only solution there. UK, I mean, I can make a list of what are the issues, but rather than hearing from me, you should hear from BAPIO, British Association Physician of Indian Origin. They will tell you what are the issues. Very simple. I don't have to do anything. I just have to take you to Google. You will realize we are living in 2020, but what are the complaints mentioned by UK NHS foreign physicians? You just type BAPIO UK medical issues, UK tax, NHS. You will realize what kind of problems actually people who are in UK are facing. We are living in 2020, and as on date as well, people in UK have to pay double tax, dugna lagan. Can you believe it? If you are from in India, you have to pay 400 pound surcharge, which in the current COVID crisis, the UK government has increased to 640 pounds just because you are from India. Can you believe it? System negotiate on the nationality basis. So many issues very regularly coming up on the newspapers. Agencies will not tell you what kind of problems Indian students usually face. Okay, let me quickly share with you one more very important set of information which actually have come. Okay, let me quickly show it to you. So there has been a article which has come in the Guardian newspaper. Okay, and I would like to show that article to everyone. So according to this article, okay, which is a very daily newspaper in the UK, the reality, how people training for PLAB are cheating, and what is the reality in UK. Because DAPIO gets a lot of information that a lot of students in India have been told to study for UK PLAB. BAPIO says very few Indian doctors at high position in the UK NHS. Non-white doctor assessed unfairly while looking for promotions. Specializations such as cardiology, ophthalmology, surgery, and pediatrics all go to European doctors. Non-white doctors in consultancy positions overlooked. Awful working conditions in NHS. Dr. Kailash Chand, he's a great physician based out of UK. What does he say? There are huge problems, working condition in the UK for doctors have deteriorated a hell of a lot. It is not as good as people think. They are not many Indian students at very high position. So what is happening? This bias or these issues people are not aware. You know, in fact, you won't believe there is a physician from Andhra Pradesh. He has written article in a journal called as BMJ, British Medical Journal, and he has asked NHS to owe apology to every physician. Can you understand his plight? He is in UK since 1974, and he has described much in detail in this article the kind of racism which he had to face from the patients, from in the UK healthcare system. So, which is why we do not country where you are going to become second grade citizen. We will never do that. We will never do that, and hence UK is out of your list. India, of course, we know competition is high, quota, higher debt, preferred branch not available. Canada is a good country to settle, but only challenge is certain provinces want you to know French, and it's a public healthcare system. So it's a good option for somebody is happy with uh, a great lifestyle, but a decent money, but not as high paced growth of career just the way it happens in India or in US, because there's no private sector. Okay. Australia, on the other hand, has expensive lifestyle, quota, long license process. So, but yeah, it's also a good option. Somebody who wants to live in countryside, there's a huge skill gap there as well. But again, to do PG, they don't have seats. But if you have a PG from India or US, you appear the AMC exam, you can definitely settle under the specialist path. New Zealand, a lot of students think about New Zealand. I always say it's a great country to become a veterinary physician than a human physician, because the population of animals is huge and more than the human beings. So it's a very small country and sparse demand. So accordingly plan your career. Germany, I already told you, you need to have a German proficiency and you cannot practice in India. Middle East, great remuneration, great job opportunities, but the jobs are contractual and bound by a lot of agencies. So be very careful in choosing the agency and go through the contracts very, very properly. All right. So I hope this answers the question, Dr. Meghna. Now you have a complete clarity of the career opportunities, which options to consider, which not to consider. All right. So now I have the next question from Nachiket. Nachiket is asking chances of getting surgery or residency. That's a good question, Nachiket. We will be discussing much in detail. But before I do that, Nachiket, I would want to conduct a small poll just to understand everybody is aware about the US process. What, according to you, is the tuition fee to do PG in US? Everyone. Mind you, it's a per year fees, okay, not the total fees. Correct. So as you can see, 53% feel there is no tuition fee to do post graduation in America. 27% say 50 lakhs, 13% 35 lakhs, 7% 4. I hope you are able to understand this very important factor, that everybody wanted to attend this session today, which was about USMLE, without realizing the fact 50%, and I don't blame you guys. Every day I do this session and this is the feedback. Moment people hear about US, people feel it will be expensive, lot of money involved. In reality, US process is completely free. You do not pay any tuition fees. So I'm glad 53% of you who answered well is correct. Their answer is correct. Please note, there is no tuition fee to do PG in US. This clarity has to be there with one and all. Why am I discussing that? Because I would want you to now download the handout which is attached with your column called as the Moksh USMLE brochure. Okay. Why am I recommending you do? Because the question is, what are my chances to get residency in surgery? So I have to go back to a couple of slides and first let you know how does one get a residency. It is not like India where admission happens only on the NEET scores. in America, doing a PG is like doing a job. So my admissions are based on my medical college performance, my USMLE scores, my CV, and the job interview. It is the sum total of all of these factors that determine my admission. Okay, just so that you are aware, let me show you what kind of salaries do you get. PGY1 residency surgery salary. Okay, what do you mean by PGY1? It is post graduation year 1. Why am I checking that? So that you realize that in entire clarity of the process, doing or applying for PG in America is like applying for a job. Okay, and since it is a job, very simple. I will be paid salaries per month annually. On top of it, I get vacations, insurance cover, on call meals. So basically, since it is a job, I have to prove my credentials. Okay, so when it comes to surgery, okay, what are the credentials required? I need to have a great med school performance. My step 1 CK marks should be 245 plus. CS pass in first attempt. I should have a strong CV. Like, things I do in my CV is like proving my affinity towards surgery, the kind of CMEs, conferences, surgery skill workshops I attend, plus also the important factors like, for example, you know, the work which I do with my community medicine department, any research opportunities which I am involved with. As a physician, how I balance between academics, research, and community medicine. So all of these factors. And finally, the interview. How do you sell yourself and how do you describe your entire journey? So what we do, we are a company where we train plus we mentor you. So we are with the students throughout their journey, right from coaching, you know for residency, clerkships, everything. All right, this is very important for each of you to understand, because only then you will get a complete perspective of the things. Doing a PG is like doing a job there. Now the second part of questions is what are my chances. So I will be showing you that data as well. Okay, but before that, there is a question which Nachiket has. Are terminal marks counted? Understand, when you say medical school performance, it is the overall performance, not one exam or two exam. What they want to know, that in every subject, let's say anatomy, okay, this might be the class highest, maybe let's say 80. I'm just giving you a random figure. Class average, let's say 55, and the class lowest, let's say 40. So whether in every subject are you above the average line or not? That is what they want to know. Plus, if you say you are interested in, let's say, surgery, then what are your marks in surgery? This is like a letter which you get from your medical school dean describing about your academic performance for each and every subject much in detail. Okay, which is why I say, students, please do not ignore your med school. In fact, many of the students, they've forgotten why they joined med school. Unfortunately, medical schools have only become a platform where all people do is give exams. That's it. Can I ask somebody, why did you join a med school? And if I may ask this question, why did you actually join a med school? Anybody, can you answer this? Because this particular thing is very important, and that is the basis of our entire program. The way we deal and help our students is not like any other company. The reason is that our focus is different. We want to make good physicians. We want you to have a great career irrespective of the country. Whether it is India or US, doesn't matter. But are you a good doctor or not? That is what matters. for which I will take you to my YouTube channel, and you can maybe like, subscribe, and watch some important video. Okay, the most important video of the discussion today. The reason I brought you to this channel is the question I posed you: why did you join the med school? I have answers, but these are to do with your dream, careers, different things. Very basic question. I don't know why people miss out. Liking, passion, that's all good, but why did you join or decided to join a med school? This is the answer. You join the med school because ultimately you want to become a good physician. You want to treat your patients. The patient centered learning is something unfortunately have now, this point a lot of med schools have missed. That ultimately, why are we preparing? The whole reason MCI decided to come up with a competency based curriculum and the introduction of the next exam was people forgot that they had come in med school to learn how to treat patients, and that is exactly what we try to do on our platform. We try training students for the patient centered learning. Doesn't matter which exam they are going to get prepared for, but we ensure they are trained for those examinations. All right, so coming back to the question which my friend asked, what is my probability or what are the chances to get into surgery? Let us talk about that data as well. So 2020 admission cycle, how many people got admission into surgery program? Let us see that. I told you much in advance, and in America there is quota system. People get admission on the basis of their profile and merit. So let's see how many people got admission and what are the seats available for different specialization. In India, same scenario, 70% seats are in medicine, 30% in surgery. Similar is the scenario in America. Okay, so as you can see, anesthesiology 1370 seats, out of which green card holders were 58, US IMGs 78, emergency medicine 2665 seats, green card holders 155, people who require visa. All of you, if you do not require visa, you are in this category. Okay, internal medicine about 8,700 seats. What we call MD medicine, they call it internal medicine. 1,100 people who got green card got admission, 2,000 who wanted visa got admission. Mind you, all of them do not pay tuition fee. They get paid a package of 35 to 40,000 US dollars. Okay, followed by another popular set of specializations. Neurology 682 seats, 56 and 182 IMGs got admission. Pathology 603, 54 and 232 IMGs got admission. Pediatrics 286, 2864, 222 and 340 got admission. All right. Similarly, let's see for psychiatry 1858, 164, 129. General surgery 2600 seats. Last year 180 preliminary people, categorical people got admission who are green card holders, and 240 non-green card holders got admission. So if you understand the math, you will realize why surgery is competitive but not impossible. Let us understand this very clearly. Medicine, there are about 8,000 seats, and surgery direct program, there are about 2,500 seats without any combinations, which is why you will hear that for every one physician getting into surgery, you will have at least 7 to 8 who have got into medicine. So it is not that people don't get it, but it is competitive. You require a very good profile. Okay, that's the only thing. I hope this answers your question. Great. So now let's pick up the next question. Okay, good question. Kiran is asking, is it possible to clear USMLE in the job or working? How many hours one has to study? That's a good question, Kiran. Kiran, so for that, let me quickly let you know about the USMLE steps. Okay. Again, I will take back you to Moksha USMLE brochure. The reason is, the complete information, you can download for yourself as well. So if you go on the second page, you will realize that in process, USMLE has 4 exams, out of which initially for admissions, you require step 1, step 2 CK, and CS, which is a practical exam. Step 1 and CK are online exam, 8 hours step 1, 9 hours CK, 280 multiple choice questions, 318 multiple choice questions on a computer. Step 1 is first 2 years of MBBS portion. Innate, behavioral science, biochem, genetics, microbiome, pathopharma, physio, and medicine, OBGY, surgery, neuro are all on CK, right? Please understand this. Every question of step 1 is an MCQ which you are expected to solve in terms of a patient case, meaning there will be no question which is pertaining to only anatomy, only pathology, only behavioral science. It will be combination of multiple subjects simply because they want to understand if a patient walks to your clinic, definitely they will have issues with some of the organ systems. And no organ system is independent of individual subjects. I hope you're able to understand this, and which is why, since you mentioned you are doing a job, you have 2 programs which Moksha can offer you. Okay, one program is called as the Moksha High Yield Review Program. This is a short 7-week program which we successfully conducted the batch in February. It's getting over in today. The second batch is actually starting from 27th of July, the second batch for 2020. So first time in India, we have all of these master American faculties who are coming to you, teaching you 7:30 to 10 p.m. India time. A program which is $4,500 in America is at a very, very minimum cost offered in India. Never before pricing for 7 weeks. So you have to get time and ensure you are revising these subjects. So by studying for this program, you will have a quick revision on all your subjects. Are you getting it? Then of course you need to practice on question banks and then be ready for your exam. The first option is a quick fix high yield 7 weeks program. Second option is what majority of Moksha students go for, and even students who can consider this program and later want to upgrade, is the Moksha Platinum program, which has live lectures, library, QBank, analytics, validity. So I'll show you how it works. So in fact, even all of you who want to give a mock examination of step 1 and want to check out the Moksha platform, you can just go on coaching.moksha16.com and actually appear your own mock examination. All right. So every student on the Moksha platform gets this login ID password. Okay, under the Moksha Platinum program, wherein this particular software helps you plan your entire journey, and it does not have a validity because actual exam also does not have a validity. So minimum, if you are a working professional, you'll have to spend 2-3 hours a day, and you need to, have a concept clarity. So you attend the lectures by different faculties happening on a different they are also operating from different time zones, but online. You want to refer to content which helps you also brush up on detailed specific information. You are free to watch unlimited videos. Now these videos are very basic to a difficulty level. At different difficulty level, we try to conduct these sessions. So let me quickly open a session for you. All right. So as you can see, you can watch a particular video lecture, you can download notes, you can report mistakes, or you can ask doubts. So this software is available with each and every student, where entire live lecture planning is done for you. You have the entire study curriculum available with you, because we believe in patient-centered learning. We also give you access to a lot of research journals. Our idea is whatever you study, you need to correlate it with the research journals. That orientation is important, so we make you visit these journals as well. So this is highly important that you study and you refer to the various paper articles and journals which can give you further information over any topics be studying. All right. So on this platform, the most important thing that students do is appear for questions. There is an inbuilt quiz bank where there are about 2000 questions to practice. Plus, faculties keep on giving a lot of tests, subject wise, discipline wise, system wise. You can create your own test, and once you appear on multiple tests, the system identifies your weakness at the topic subtopic level. What happens is USMLE exams can be given throughout the year at any point of time. So it's very important that you need to know when you are ready, which is why we keep on testing you. We keep on identifying which are your subjects of strength, weakness, and average. And finally, our artificial intelligence based software lets you know your predictive score, your overall performance by discipline, and that gives us an idea when you'll be exam ready. Plus, there is a career tool available where you can actually look at various career opportunities which you are planning to work in America. Complete news and updates, study material is available with you online, plus access to your international faculty. So you can at any point of time, any doubts are available, you can interact with any of the faculties at any point of time, any questions. The mix of experienced faculties which we have, whom you can kind of connect and interact and you know be ready for your exams. I hope this answers your question. Thank you, Nachiket. Now Nachiket has another question. I will come to that. Could you elaborate about the how pass-fail system of step 1 is going to affect IMGs? That's a good question. I think Garvita has a similar question. How will decision making will change once the step 1 becomes pass and a fail? Definitely, let's answer that question. Please understand this point, Nachiket and Garvita. Only the parameters are changing, not the overall process. Okay, somebody is saying the difficulty level, oh, now people will not get admission. That's incorrect. That's a lie. American healthcare system has huge shortage. What is happening is the factor on the basis of which the admissions offered is changing. So what is the scenario as on 2020? This is the scenario. But once the exam becomes pass and a fail from 2022, what is going to change? Let us understand that. First, currently 94% of program directors want to know your step 1 scores. This will become 100%, but they would want to know whether you pass step 1 in first attempt or not. Currently only 70% of them were worried about the exam attempt. Now 100% will be wanting to know whether you pass the step 1 exam in first attempt or not. So this is first change. Second, 86% want letter of recommendations in the specialty, which means the clinical rotation, the US clinical experience have become all the more important. The quality of LOR is important. Unfortunately, a lot of IMGs are misguided or maybe fooled by a lot of companies where they offer rotations in private clinics. Stay away from such people. You need to do rotations only from universities while you are in internship year or in ACGME hospitals. Do not accept any positions or pay money to anyone for doing anything in private clinics. Okay, your college performance is important. 80% of program directors were worried about step 2 CK marks. Again, this will become 100%. Now everybody will consider your CK marks very, very seriously. Personal statement, very important criteria. Your class ranking, one of the criteria. Commitment to specialty. So now if I say I want to become a surgeon, what are the requirements? What kind of workshops I have attended, surgical skills workshops, CMEs, conferences. I need to prove I love that specialization. Personal prior knowledge, this will become a very important factor. I always tell students, that what you are in your CV is just a paper form of you. But when in person, when you go for rotations, you are doing the actual networking. Networking leads to a lot of things. I know of hundreds of students, one thing led to another, and how luck was in their side because they were at the right place, right time, and met the right people. So networking will become highly important. Of course, they would want to know your communication skills while you go for rotations and interviews. So interaction with faculties, the kind of discussions you do, kind of experience you bring in, these are important factors. Your professionalism and ethics, these factors will always be important. So what I'm trying to tell you is, unfortunately, there is a rumor amongst a section of IMGs. I always say it's an Italian crab, Spanish crabs theory. Who are the people who spread rumors? These are IMGs who never themselves got matched and are there in this side of the shore, not wanting others to succeed. They try to spread this negativity. However, people who are successful have actually followed the route and are successfully working and actually fighting the COVID battle in the US. Lot of my students who are successfully right now working in the American healthcare system. Point I'm trying to make: will admissions become difficult after 2022? No. Difficulty level is same as on today also. Out of 10 students, 6 are getting admission. Even that will be the similar ratio in future. However, the way they will select or the weightage given to the things have changed, and that is what I showed you right now. I hope this answers both the questions of Nachiket and Garvita. Kiran Kumar, can you tell me visa issues in the current scenario? That's again a very good question, Kiran. For that, you need to understand what kind of visa do you actually require, Kiran. I'm happy you asked this question. Before I answer your question quickly, so those who want an access to the mock examination or a free content can WhatsApp us on this number or email us on usmle@mooc16.com. All right, you can note it down. Question by Kiran is very interesting. What about the visa issues? Well, you need to understand what exactly are the visa issues. Okay, please understand this very clearly. The application process in America, after you have everything ready in your profile, your marks, your CV, USMLE scores, is a 1 year process. Okay, and in the American process, Kiran, if you are a graduate, you will take 1 year for step 1 year for CK, CS, and rotation. So total 2 years and 3 years time. That's why I told you you require a lot of patience. Now in this process in the American PG, what are the visas you require? The first visa you require is a B1, B2 tourist visa, which is a very common visa for which you need to be worried about. That's it. Tourist visa. You require for rotations, you require for CS, and you require for interviews. Usually, once you get this visa, it's a 10-year multiple entry visa. And if there are any rejections, the rejections are in this visa. Why? Because this is a general purpose visa. So they will consider you just like other tourists. So you'll have to prove. And mind you, Kiran, if you're already working somewhere in a hospital, no problem. Because if you're a graduate, you're unemployed for 5 years, and somebody says you are preparing for NEET PG, that doesn't work. You should have a job, or you are a student. Even if you are a student, getting a visa is easy. Tourist visa. Okay. Now, once you get your PG or residency, that time the visa which you are on is J1 or H1B. This is a work visa. They do not have any issues offering medical professionals J1 or H1B visa. Let me tell you, last year, one of my students got 15 days. In 15 days, the J1 and H1B visa. Why? Please understand this very clearly. There is a huge physician shortage in America. They every year only produce 42,000 physicians. Their actual requirement is 1,21,000. In fact, in the current scenario, in the COVID situation, they have realized what is the huge gap. In fact, lot of provinces like New Jersey, New York, they are allowing international medical graduates with 5-year experience to come immediately serve them. So what I'm trying to tell you is that because there is a huge shortage, which is why work visa is not a problem. The only visa you should be considered is your tourist visa. Serin, if you are a H4 dependent, well, that is a very risky. Reason being, I don't know which H1B visa are you in. If you are, you know, if your spouse works for an IT company, management company, any industry other than healthcare, then you know the situation right now. They are just giving 60 days grace period unless one holds a job. So yes, that is the reality. Please understand, unless your spouse is also an H1B on a medical program or working as a resident doctor or a fellow in an American hospital, no problem. If it's a non-medico, yes, it's a concern. So I would suggest for you to, maybe independently come back to the home med school, home country, and apply separately for your J1 or H1B for the match. That will be the safest bet in the current scenario, because things are not looking great on the non-medical side. Let me be very realistic. Okay, Sanchita has a question. Shruti, I will answer your question. I definitely know your question. I'll answer that. Don't worry. Will an applicant having 3-digit score given preference over an applicant having pass and full? Not at all. Sanchita, please understand, the American system does not work like that. I don't know who have given you this kind of information. Not at all. Okay. The reason we had decided to offer this program is because, and the reason people are going to appear the examinations by 2021 is not because they will get some preference. It is because until 2021, everybody knows the step 1 syllabus. Everybody knows that a passing marks is 194. Everybody knows the current pass scenario. If you go to the USMLE website, you will realize that the pass rates are not bad. But after 2022, nobody knows how difficult the exam shall become. This is the reason why everybody is trying to give before 2021. Okay, but once you apply for the match, they will be least bothered whether you have a 3-digit score or not. Only thing they will be worried whether you pass the step 1 in the first attempt or not. As on date, if you see this data, you will realize that the passing average of first time appear candidates in international graduates is 80%. So this is not a difficult exam. However, we don't know what will happen after 2022. It is obvious once the exam becomes pass and a fail, this might be a scenario. All right. But good, you asked this question. In fact, I will advise all of you. In the February when this announcement was made, I got frantic calls from students across India, because I have done sessions in 200 plus medical colleges. So they have requested me to do a short YouTube session on that. So I will quickly send you a link, because unfortunately, a lot of rumors are there and incorrect information is spreading around. So my advice will be, I would want you to watch that video. It's a good 1 hour session which I talked about, just talking about this exam changes and how it's going to impact. All right, so definitely watch this video. I will quickly share the link with you. Only thing what I tell to my students, do not think that now step 1 has become easy. Do not think that, don't take chance. In short, go by the preparation the way you were preparing earlier. Work equally hard. Do not be complacent. That is the secret for succeeding in the US process. Moment you are in you become complacent, things are definitely going to be difficult. Let me tell you, because these are not easy examinations. Of all the examinations, the USMLE exams are not easy. You require proper understanding of concepts. Okay, let me quickly find that video for you. Yeah, I got it. So I just released that video about 2 months ago when this changes was made. So I'll just share the link with all of you. You definitely watch this video. A detailed talk about new changes in exam and the impact on IMGs. I hope that gives you a complete clarity. Okay. Great. So I hope this answers your question, and the concern with visa, which Kiran had. Right. Now I have a very interesting question from Shruti, and all of us must understand her question. Can you talk about other options after MBBS? Okay. The reason I wanted to discuss it at the end, she asked me very early, is so that I can give you a clear perspective. Okay. Again, you are an MBBS student from India. Okay. What are the options available? What are the options available if I am an MBBS student from India? I can join a clinical program. Okay. When I say clinical, these are all residency programs in America. All right. Where my total expenditure towards the entire journey is 20 lakh rupees. And since residency is free, I get paid every year 35 lakhs as a salary. I earn back 1 crore rupees. So net my investment is only 20 lakh rupees. However, not everybody likes to continue the clinical field. So many have idea to consider non-clinical options. So what are the non-clinical options? Somebody is interested in, let's say, pharmacology. So there are masters come PhD programs in pharmacology, which you can consider. A lot of people after MD biochemistry do medical genetics PhD. So PhD based research pathway programs, that is one option, which non-medical pathway can be considered. Second is masters in public health. Okay. Now public health programs need to understand that whichever country you do your public health, the course is valid only in that country, because every country has different set of biostatistics, epidemiology, and other issues. MPH, your investment or expenditure during MPH will be around 40 to 50 rupees. Okay. And of course, the salaries which MPH get is about one third what clinical physicians get. Okay. Then a very interesting field which has come up, and I have a lot of students of mine who opted for it. Again, it's an interest which you should have in. That is called as Masters in Health Information System. It's a combination of health and IT. The student had taken the challenge and now he's doing successfully in the job market. Expenditure is only this much. However, again, these are master's program. So after which, since these are non-clinical programs, all depends on whether the US government allows or considers that as a H1B program with the waiver. Okay, otherwise if there is a restrictions like what is happening currently, it's going to be difficult. But yes, then of course there are options of masters of hospital administration. Then there are programs like MBA in healthcare. In fact, in some of the institutions, these MBA in healthcare are as expensive as 1 CR Indian rupees. Okay, these are very expensive MBAs. And mind you, in MPH, in MHA, in MBA, in health information system, not only MBBS students, even BDS students, even pharma students, in fact, a lot of biosciences students are also allowed, especially in MBA healthcare and all. What I'm trying to tell you is that you dilute your degree, and which is why the competition is more, and which is why your earnings will be not as high as the clinical program. However, I personally know a lot of my students who are successfully taken these career options also. So it's ultimately boils down to your career orientation, whether you want to work hard now, invest this much money and have a great returns, or you spend this much money, do this course and then look for jobs like again, just a small perspective. If I do PhD research, I can settle in any country. India, you cannot come back, because this we still do not have, we are not that great in terms of the research job opportunities. MHIS, definitely you can come back. In India also you'll have good jobs. Hospital admin, you can come back. MBA care, you can come back, no problem. Or globally you can shift to any other country also. but MPH is very, very country specific. Whichever country you do MPH, you have to settle there. I hope this gives you a complete clarity of options, Shruti. Great. So now I will look forward for any further questions which I have. Meanwhile, okay, you want number? All right, okay. So yes, so anybody wants to appear for a mock examination or appear, give a USMLE mock or look for a free trial, can either WhatsApp us on this number or email us on this number. All right. I hope this gives you a clarity. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Any other questions anybody has? Okay. So now please understand this. My idea would be that you should independently, depending on the situation of your H4 visa, understand this. Initially, when you are preparing for our high yield review program for step 1 or for CK, it doesn't matter where you are in. So for now, I will advise you, while you prepare for 1 and CK, 1 will take 1 year, CK, CS and rotations altogether 1 year. I would say stay put at your current H4 situation, see how it pans out. Okay, because please, you need to also understand that from next year up till this year, like before March of 2021, if you are a graduate, you can appear the CS exam before appearing step 1. But one of the change which has come from next year is that you cannot appear step 2 CS unless you have passed the step 1. Okay, so my advice will be to prepare and appear for step 1 first, because amongst all the step 1 is the most difficult exam. So while you are doing step 1 or CK, it doesn't matter which part of the world you are in. So I will advise, if right now you are in H4, just stay put, see how the situation pans out. It's very uncertain. We are living in one of the most uncertain period of the world right now. So just hold on, and because at what stage will you require a visa to be in US? That's only for a CS exam or for interviews. All right, and once you know the situation, then accordingly you can take call. All right, because you don't have to worry about the fact. Let me quickly show you. 1 second, hold on. From here, for next 2 years or at least 1.5 years, unless you are giving 1 CK, you don't have to worry about visas. The visa required is for CS, for rotations, and for interviews. All right, that's where you will require some kind of a visa for which you will be in US. Okay, if things still span out without any issues, you are still on H4, no problem. You can apply to residency programs which do not sponsor visa as well. So it would be a great thing for you to continue. But for any reason, if that doesn't work as per your plans, then while you apply for residency, you apply on an H1B or a J1, and accordingly you can plan things for your spouse. I hope this is clear. All right, thanks, Serene. Sanchita, good question. Is research compulsory for all the fields? No, absolutely not. Okay, let me quickly show you. All right, so when you say research, all right, first of all, I hope at the start of the session you heard Dr. Stephen Doherty talking about research. All right, research is not compulsory at all for any field. It's just that we are trying to make your profile competitive. All right, let's understand, where does a IMG get admission in American healthcare system? Either you get into a university program or you get into a community hospital. University programs have the funding, have the academics, and will be worried about whether you did research or not. Community hospitals do not care. Okay. Secondly, specializations like patho, psychiatry, neurology, surgery, OBGY, or maybe not much, but radio anesthesia, not much, but yeah, just to make it competitive. These might require research. Might, it's not compulsory again. I know of at least 95% of my students applying for medicine and pediatrics did not have much research. One or two publications still got match. Okay. Again, people ask me quantity, how many? There is no formula 1 plus 1 plus 1 will become 3. No. It's the quality of research. Whether your research got published in PubMed, index journal or not, you cannot claim I am doing an ongoing research. We are talking about publications, all right? So that's how the perspective works. It is just that you try to build your CV and create that extra edge over others. That's the only thing, Sanchita. Absolutely no, Kiran Kumar. There is no age limit. In past, let me tell you a profile, just so that you get inspired. I had a 45-year-old graduate. She had a hospital of her own in Bombay. At that age, she decided to shift with her spouse. Her spouse was a scientist and was looking for a job in US. That was her idea. Of course, she applied for a normal visa and process. But what I'm trying to tell you is, at that age, appeared step 1, got to 42. Appeared step 2 CK. She was a pediatrician throughout her career. For some reason, applied for match for the first time, got rejected. Second time, got accepted for a residency program. Completed residency program. About 4 months ago, I got a call from her. She did her residency in the East Coast. Now, with her husband and the entire family, have now shifted to the West Coast, and she's got a job in a hospital in the West Coast. She just called me to thank. This is like about 3-4 months ago, right? What I'm trying to tell you is age is not a criteria, but you need to prove, as you said, there is no gap in your journey. You've been clinically associated. She proved with the credentials. She worked on her clinical rotations, and she had a story to tell how she managed her own hospital in Bombay, how there were stakes for her in terms of selling of the entire setup and then going there. She proved her journey. She is now in the American system. So as I told you, process is long. I told you at the start, you'll have to work hard and you will require patience. If these things are there, nobody can stop you succeed the American PG dreams. That is something I can be sure about. Okay, this was just an example to share, just so that you have a clarity, Kiran. All right, so thank you very much everyone for your feedback.